Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Thank you again for joining us for our webinar this morning. So thank you, April, for starting as well. So my name is Sebastien Lamiaux, as you can see, and I'm here in Boston at the U.S. office of StratX. What we wanted to do today is share with you a little bit of what we see going on in the B2B world, some of the challenges. We work across the world and across different industries, but a lot in B2B. And recently there's a lot that's been done around marketing, a lot of thoughts, a lot of things coming new. That's true probably on the B2C side as well and in other industries, but also in the B2B. So just a few things that we see. So we anticipate just sharing some of our thoughts, some examples that we've seen here with you, and then welcome your questions as well. So I will try to monitor the chat and take a look at that and see if you have any questions. So periodically I will do that. You are all muted on the line, so you cannot share any questions through the phone line, but if you can just type through the chat, I'll be able to see and see some of the questions. So some of the things that we see, and one of the key things that we see is actually the convergence of B2B and B2C, and no B2B presentation would be complete without mention of GE. So of course, one of the big company that a lot of people look up to in B2B. So I was actually at a conference last week in Chicago, and there was the CMO of GE, the new CMO, Linda Boss, because Beth Comstock was the old CMO, is now part of the management team of Jeff Immelt. And what she mentioned here is this. So I've checked that box with the GE mention. That won't be the first, the only one actually here in some of the examples. But so what she says in any case is the stakes for us all have changed. Great consumer experiences, whether on Amazon or Uber, are setting a different bar for us as B2B marketers. So actually what happens is that there used to be a clear differentiation between B2C and B2B, and the way that marketing was done there at B2C versus B2B was very different. And now really that line, that difference is really gone now. So there's not a lot of difference anymore. So a lot of the things that is happening in B2C is moving to B2B, and so you cannot just afford to do marketing B2B in the same way that you used to do it. So what we see here into some of the 7 topics that April mentioned, one of the first things is customer insight discovery, and again, that's something that maybe in B2C a lot of the consumer are able we're able to do that and share earlier on. But now it's coming to B2B as well through social media, through a lot of different ways. Customers are able to let companies know how they feel about the offering, whether they're happy, and probably where they're not happy as well. And so you can't just afford to ignore that anymore. So what we're seeing is that knowing the customer has always been one of the fundamentals of marketing, but in this day and age, it is absolutely essential for the B2B marketer. So it's not just about focusing on your offering and your product and the engineering aspect, which is of course still very important, but it's also really understanding earlier on probably in the R&D process how is that going to meet a need for the customer. And what discovery is about here is learning about the customer needs, their strategic initiatives, their goals, their outcomes, really focusing on what it is that they're looking for. And what that does, it allows you to neatly tie anything you propose to what your client needs and to tailor to those specific needs. So one of the ways that we've seen companies able to do that, and that's the other GE mention of the presentation, and something that's really important is about the fast works idea. So I don't know if you can see the graphic here where it explains sort of the process that GE is looking at. And you can see in the literature, this is from the HBR, but you can see a lot of information, and I encourage you, if you're not familiar with the FastWorks example and how GE has looked over time, over the past 5, 6, 7 years under Jeff Immelt at the way that they look at their services, at their offering, And so looking at responding to drive for speed and need to align more closely with customers' need by using this project, this way of thinking about fast work. And this is tied to the lean startup, which is one of the frameworks from a book by this author, Eric Ries, which is linked to new products come from the sort of agile software development with quick deliverables, fast learning, and instead of having the traditional approach in which salespeople just give design requirements and then leave, customers are involved throughout the process. And the idea there is, as well as fast prototyping, is a lean company, and the idea is what GE wants to be is a startup. So having this sort of innovative thinking, even though it's this behemoth company, age-old, very different businesses, very traditional B2B, in the aircraft engine and sort of traditional, very heavy capital-intensive industries, sort of being able to get away from that and really become fast and agile. And what they say as well is fail fast, fail early, fail often. So kind of having this spirit. And we here in Boston believe that that's partly why GE has chosen, and we're very happy about that. It's big news locally that they're moving their headquarters to Boston. So we think that's because the city is viewed as a hotbed for innovation with all of the universities, Harvard and MIT, that are around here. So one of the examples that we've seen as well that is public and interesting is what they've been able to do with Air Asia. So on the Asia side, we travel a lot, so I love to talk about airplanes and airplane travels and all the fun things and all the not so fun things that we see now. And so they've been able to work with this company. So Air Asia, one of the fastest growing company in Asia, they have about 160 aircraft. What GE helped them with is fuel efficiency. So, talking about numbers, a few numbers there, 340,000 flights a year, 100 destinations. The company goes to about 22 different countries. And what GE was able to do is a dashboard tool. So we have an example here. It's a little bit difficult to see. It's public information, so I think that they don't really want to share too much. But you can get a lot more information and a lot of examples online if you dig there as well. But basically, the company was able to get about $10 million of fuel savings with flight efficiency. And you see down here at the bottom, looking at some fairly technical stuff. So this is where I'm not necessarily an engineer, so it can be technical, but the optimization of climb profiles, the single engine taxi operations, the use of sophisticated statistical algorithms to plan taxi and contingency fuel requirements, optimization of departure tracks, maximization of the use of APUs. So basically through some of these metrics and really understanding what the customer wants, and here GE was able to offer that to their customer and really help them into making their operations more efficient. And that's really through the customer insights delivery, and now with the information and the big data that's available, a lot of companies are looking to do that. So that's customer insights. Of course, that's not just in a vacuum. You have to look at it from a value creation perspective as well, right? So you have to understand what it is that the offering is, and value creation is, not surprisingly probably to a lot of you, another key piece and something that the customers are looking for and that companies have to look at. So long gone are the days where marketers created solely value for the shareholders. It's looking at focus on value creation in the context of creating better value for customers purchasing products and services as well. So it's really with the customer at the forefront. And here at StratX, we really believe that it has to be, from the customer-centric point of view. So thinking about customer creating value and helping the customer discover what they really need as well. So for example, you can create value through the sales process by helping them discover new possibilities, new ways to get bigger and better outcomes and new opportunities. You can help your customers by doing things in a new way. And so you're building a culture in which value creation becomes the mantra on everybody's lips, and not just for the commercial excellence people, on customer-facing people, either on the sales or the marketing side or the product management side, but also for customer service, for R&D. And so that it must encompasses everybody in the organization. And we see a lot as well, a lot more recently about internal-facing functions such as IT, such as HR, that are becoming part of the process of creating value for the customer. And we've started doing some development programs for these internal customer-facing functions, and with some of our clients, we are doing programs for HR, for example, and how they can become business partners to their internal business people, and IT as well. That it's not just about providing an IT service internally, but it's about how can they understand their internal customers' needs better. So one of the sort of interesting examples that we've seen as well, and that we can all relate to, is through the facilities, through washroom facilities in companies, and you may have seen that around. So you may be familiar with Dyson as a company. It's an English company, and they offer different consumer services. Vacuum cleaners is one of the ones that they're most famous for. But on the B2B side as well, they're able to offer some services. And this is an example of a dryer, so a hand dryer in a bathroom. And some of us may not like it, but it's good for the environment. We all know that. So instead of using paper towels, there's this dryer. But what Dyson is able to do here, and this is from their internet webpage, you have the address on the bottom. And I don't know if you can see sort of the calculator on the right, but you're able to calculate as a business your savings. And so that's a neat way here that the Dyson is able to offer and to show and to prove that this is a saving. So you can include the amount of paper towels and dispensers that your company uses every day. You can look at how many hand dryer machines that would be using a per unit per day, et cetera, and basically go through the different steps here. And what that will do is that will help look at how you're creating value and how much you could save in terms of the paper. So that's really a small thing, but the company here is able to, through this little example, to be able to do that and show and benefit that. And so through some of the information here, through some of the data and what you can do online now through your web pages, it's really interesting how you can sort of be able to communicate that to your customers overall. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way to be able to share that. So that's linked to digital marketing as well. So there's, a lot of B2B companies now are sort of wondering about this digital marketing, what it is that they should do with all these social networks, Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. Should they be on there? How do you manage that? So we've seen companies at the forefront of that. I think now the thinking for the past 4 or 5 years is whether companies should be there. B2B companies, of course, B2C companies have been there for a while. I think now the answer is clear. It's companies should be there. The question is how you organize that. We've seen companies at the forefront of that. Dell is a company that, again, has some roots in the B2C, but also is doing a lot of business and a lot of profits on the B2B side, and is able to use digital marketing as a way to really talk to their customer, and they're doing a fantastic job. You can find examples as well online. They've created internal universities, training programs where they train their people on how to use, all the different networks and emphasize the information that they have. So really digital marketing, what we think and what we see is that marketers must now adopt a digital approach in the ways that they're reaching out to the customer, learning how to effectively use those different channels such as social media, content marketing, among a multitude of others is really key in this day and age. And it should not be just a separate strategy. So it should not be, someone does digital and someone else does the traditional. Digital should be just a relay of everything else, that messages that you put out there. So the traditional value prop, the traditional segmentation, the traditional work that is done there should really be amplified through the digital media as well, or medium, I guess I should say. So consumer behavior has changed so much that digital must be at the heart of every element in the marketing strategy and the customer experience. But it has to fit with everything else that's being done as well. It can't just be on its own. Websites, of course, must function flawlessly with usability. Emailing campaigns must be personalized and relevant with a message that adds value. Social media inquiries must be responded to rapidly, and so on. As the customer now equates these digital elements with the integrity of the brand. So you cannot afford to have someone send you a message on Twitter and then wait 10, 15, 20 days for you to respond. That's a lot of the customer, whether because they're doing that in the B2C world, now they're just getting used to that in the B2B world as well. So one of the greatest examples that we've seen as well, and maybe you're familiar with it, is the way that Adobe was able to use CMO, this website, as a platform and move away from traditional, just PDF and sort of desktop publishing business to expand the market perception beyond desktop publishing, wanting to acquire an Omniture, which is a marketing analytics company. And really to regularly engage marketing leaders. So we also have a picture down here on Twitter of the CMO at CMO_com. And if you are not following them, if you're not on Twitter, I encourage you to go and see that as well. That was an example that was mentioned last week in the conference in Chicago that was very, very successful and looking at reposition its brand. So there's a lot of information, a lot of white paper, a lot of, they're publishing content for B2B marketers on this website. So there's a lot of good content as well, but what that allows Adobe to do is keep its brand name and expand it just beyond just the PDF. And as I mentioned, uses at CMO_com to engage marketing leaders and remain relevant to businesses. And really the success of Adobe's digital campaign was rooted in an understanding that B2B buyers have the same appetite for useful, interesting, and authentic marketing as everyday consumers. So we all go online, we all use different pieces of information, but whether you're a B2B marketer or a B2C marketer, you have a question, Google, and something comes up, and so that's a lot of way that the information is done, and that's a lot of way that marketers and customers are getting the information as well. So that was the third one. Another important trend that we see, let me just pause here and see if there's any questions on the chat side. I don't think I see that, so I'll just keep going on. But please, if you have some questions, feel free to type them in. Something that started a few years ago and that's continuing as well. But that's increasing, and we see the importance and we see the effect as well. The shifting from product to smart service delivery. So really, the idea that in B2B you're not going from a product, but you're selling more services, and with the digitalization of the economy and the information flow that's getting faster and faster, companies are now able to monitor remotely as well, so able to do that a lot better before. So now more than ever, customers are not only looking to purchase a product, but also looking at products that include a service that will accompany them throughout the use of the product, and helping them to get their business to a higher level and to make their service better. So companies, GE, work with a lot of companies in different industries. In the healthcare space, for example, because they're working with some of the best, they're able to say, not only can we provide this offering, this product for you, but we can help optimize your business. So that's a lot of companies are starting to do that. So from smart services, going beyond the kinds of upkeep and upgrades you may be bundling with your product, both in their value to customers and the cost and efficiency to you. And to provide them, you must build intelligence. So having information that's useful, awareness, connectivity into the products themselves, preparing to act on what the products then reveal about their use. And there's a lot of information that you can get from how the customer uses the product as well. And so smart services can create an entirely new kind of value, where the value of removing unpleasant surprises and this type of added value is becoming the norm, and really something that you have to look at. So one company and one example that we've seen do well is Heidelberg, and again, this is from HBR. It's a maker of high-end printing presses, and really throughout the history, the company has offered repair services. So that's sort of the traditional and something that's a lot of companies, were able to do. But several years ago, when it developed the ability to monitor the equipment remotely, the company found that it could provide maintenance much more efficiently or effectively. So now with its machines communicating over the internet, relaying information about the status between the print shops and the company's regional and global technical support specialists, Heidelberg has access to insights, optimizing printing performance, and again, they're able to offer value-added services and really look at different ways that they can bring some of the offerings. So total product support that the company now offers, which extend even to removal and resale of the machines, represents a whole new level of value, and network content has made the difference for Heidelberg and has allowed the firm to achieve true intimacy with its customers. So that's really moving away. And as you can see, these things are not, we're talking about customer insights discovery, we're talking about value creation, we talk about digital marketing. These things are not in separation, in isolation. They're all part of sort of the new way and integrated sort of value that B2B marketers have to look at and be able to use. And of course, one of the other things that we have to look at is disruptive innovation. So whether you are looking at whether you're being disrupted yourself and need to reinvent your business, we see that on the B2C side, we see that on the B2B side as well. So companies creating new market and value networks have exponentially increased over the past decade and are changing the global market space. Of course, we've seen, and that's a lot of things that are happening in the B2C side, Apple, Uber, really being at the forefront of the concept of disruptive innovation, transforming whole industries. I think you could say that on the hotel industry as well, the Airbnb and the sharing of the apartments. That's being very strong in the U.S. and in Europe as well, is disrupting the hotel industry. So it's having those, people having to think differently about the way that it's marketing and looking at the market. And I think that's coming to B2B as well, where a lot of if you're not being disruptive and if your industry is not being disrupted, then it's probably coming. So it's getting faster and faster as well. Types of innovations, definitely redefining the B2B industry, how companies must market themselves in order to stay competitive here as well. So one example here that is a bit on the pharmaceutical side. So on the animal health, so that's from Merck here, where they've been able to do with their animals. So there's different ways of different sort of business here for the animal health. There's the traditional sort of livestock. That's B2B because the company sells it to the people raising the cattle, and then there's the animal health companion side, which is sometimes sold directly to the pet owners, to the consumers, but also sometimes sold through the veterinarians as well and through the clinics. So that's sort of the B2B side. And a lot of there was actually a speaker from our in the conference last week. Sorry, I'm mentioning that conference quite a bit, but it's top of my mind, fresh in my mind. So this company was able to launch this product called Reinventing, and they're looking at it as a way to disrupt the flea and tick protection market. It's a chewable tablet, single treatment, and it's good for 12 weeks program. And so they're looking at this as a breakthrough innovation that offers pet owners and veterinarians something that only that a product of longer-lasting oral flea and tick prevention currently available. And it's kind of interesting as well, where they've launched a campaign as well, where you are looking at the way that they market, the way that they've identified some of the products and owners. And so you can send information and send pictures of your pet, and people share. It's amazing, as you probably know, everything that's on the internet about pets, and the cat videos and the dog videos that you can find. So that there's a high level of engagement on the consumer side, but then they're leveraging that to make sure that it also translates on the veterinarian side as well. So a disruptive innovation, something very important here. Let me see if I have some questions on the chat. Okay, I think that we are okay for now. So stakeholder management is also something that we see as well becoming important. So that's we have a couple more sort of key things that we see, and what we see here is that the different stakeholders. So it's linked to the buying units. Something not so new here in B2B, but that's becoming more and more prevalent, moving towards the goals of keeping not only investors, but recruiting investors as well, and then the different ways of the buying process. And then the last one that is probably something that's important as well, that we see a lot of demand from our B2B customers as well, is around key account management and around account-based marketing. And that's something that's coming in from probably the segmentation work and the continuing of the segmentation thinking of the 80s and 90s. So key account management's core demand has always been to drive never-ending value. The idea here is to focus on each account and develop your marketing specifically to them. And so the way that value is measured has changed dramatically, shifting from short-term customization to long-term overall value. And so how to manage this with success in today's B2B environment does take some balancing of these demands from short-term versus long-term and effective communication skills. And so one of the latest thing as well is around key account management and account-based marketing. So that's really something that a lot of people are working on. So the idea of key account or of account-based marketing is to have better alignment with sales, often close bigger deals with target accounts, and increase pipeline velocity. So it's really looking at one account and looking at going after this target account and developing your marketing strategy in the way that you will communicate for that specific account. So that's something that's really focus on. I guess that's the Uber segmentation if you look at it, but that really enables you to have a focus. And so it's big enterprise companies targeting a few standard key accounts with a high touch, maybe expensive, but focused approach rather. So ABM provides guidance on how to deliver the insights, the goal settings, the strategy, the planning, the integrating marketing, communication, and execution, the sales alignment guidance. The sales alignment required to support growth, retention, and loyalty objectives. And it also helps to provide guidance on how to measure marketing's impact beyond demand creation within those defined groups of prospects and customer accounts. So today, looking at ABM, it really has the potential to be much bigger thanks to technology, but more than that, it's a simple documented process that can be easily piloted and replicated across. So you have, some information as well. There's some sources here for you as well, but if, there's some examples of companies that were able to do that Accenture and some other companies were able to do that here onto demand generation. I'll get it out. So looking at here organizations which are seeing the greatest current benefit from this account-based marketing or IT services consulting company, because some of them have complex proposition, long sales cycles, large customers, and that's really helping here. And so it's spreading into other sectors as a benefit. Can be increased. Many suppliers are woken up to the fact that the revenues of some of their customers exceed the GDP of some nation states. So it's really changing the amount of the resources accordingly. Large multinational companies such as Accenture and Fujitsu have implemented ABM processes. So that's kind of, it's sort of the new version, the key account management 3.0, I guess, around account-based marketing. So those are some of the, sort of 7 here key topics and key things that we see in B2B. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat here to see if there's anything. So I encourage you, if you have any questions here on the chat, or to be able to share with us. So that's basically sort of what we wanted to share here. And then, the last few things that we wanted to mention is sort of how we see here at StratX, how what we've been working on and how the experiential learning can help teams face challenges. And so we worked recently on a new new solution for the B2B specific market we call StratX B2B for customer centricity. And it's really looking at embedding a customer-centric approach to commercial strategy and marketing excellence. And so we looked at these different trends. We looked at how to integrate them. We worked with our different subject matter experts as well as different clients' feedback from integrating these trends. And so we've been using this recently into looking at functional skills and key strategic leadership skills as well. So thinking strategically about the market, still continue to boost customer centricity and insight, going digital and unlocking further growth. That's really one of the things that we started adding as well. Designing new value proposition, innovating, creating value for and with customers. So that's also the idea of the co-creation, which is something that we see in B2C, but that's coming overall as well to B2B. And that's something that G is talking about as well with their fast work and their lean startup kind of thinking. And then developing growth-oriented business plans, so something that we focus on here as well. And so we help our customers to develop strategy, create value for the customers, and discover and act on customer insights. So you have a little bit of a screenshot here. So we focus on different levels. We've got different levels that we've created, different gamification scenarios from essentials to execution to strategic. That we're able to develop and use, and that's the way that we sort of integrate some of the challenges and some of the topics in B2B that a lot of our clients are seeing, and so that can be for the commercial excellence people, so either marketing or product management or sales side, or for more the leaders of the company, cross-functional, as I mentioned earlier, more on the HR and IT side as well. So I think that's all that we wanted to share with you today. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully that was helpful into explaining a little bit more and sharing some examples on how we see some of these topics. So I'll look at the chat now. I think we'll be able to send you those slides if you're interested as well by email after the webinar. But thank you very much for joining. And I'll see if there's any questions on the chat for now. But other than that, we hope this was useful and have a great day. All right, I don't think there's any questions on the chat. So April, I think we'll just conclude at this point then.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you very much.